This video is an ultimate guide to motivation, romanticizing studying, and how to actually enjoy school, as well as strategically and scientifically proven tips that will help you get A pluses in your exams this year. Hey guys, welcome back to Biolog. Hope you're having a great day and a great week. In this video, we will dive into the only tips you will need to become that perfect student, student that everyone is jealous of, and make sure that you have those scientifically backed up study tips in your mind that will help you ace every single exam this year. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so there are four main categories of study techniques or types of learners that you can be. So you can either be a visual learner, kinesthetic learner, auditory learner, or a reading and writing learner. So for instance, are you someone who enjoys doing mind maps, making drawings on your whiteboards, making everything look visual and really colorful? In that case, you heard me right. Yes, you are a visual learner. Or for instance, if you like walking around your house, maybe going to a park and studying, going to a local cafe, a library, a bookstore, studying in those different spaces where you can walk around and recite things maybe aloud, let's say, you want to walk around your house, recite a definition out loud in order to memorize it. That is a kinesthetic learner. Knowing what type of learner you are will be your biggest strength when it comes to studying, because if you know what type of learner you are, you can combine that with a different study technique, and through the use of active recall and spaced repetition, you can make sure that you get really good grades. Now let's dive into the biology behind, so the science behind this. So what actually happens is, for instance, if you are a visual learner and you combine this with the kinesthetic method of walking around your house to make sure that you can memorize a definition, let's say, what happens in your brain is that once you start reciting that information once, there are neural connections. There are these connections that form between neurons in your brain, and this actually happens through signaling, so sending of an electrical impulse. Once this electrical impulse is sent, that forms a single connection. Now, as you repeat this process of studying, maybe if you're using a single technique and you keep repeating the same thing, like you're doing whiteboard mind maps, let's say, if you keep doing that consistently over the week, what happens is now those connections formed between the neurons in your brain get strengthened even further, because it allows for this thing called an action potential to be transferred from one neuron to another. And this action potential is actually a sign that the neuron is getting excited. It's like, oh my god, let's learn this new information, because what we're actually having now is the neurons like, oh my god, with this information that I've learned, initially has come back to me. And so it's like, I need to make sure that I'm storing this really well and I'm understanding this really well. So it gets excited. This excitation of neurons is what actually allows learning to occur. A really good way to incorporate active recall and spaced repetition in your daily lives and daily routines is, number one, before going to your lecture, whether it's high school, whether it's university, college, whatever you like to call it, make sure that you are going through the lecture material before you attend the lecture. This scientifically is called priming. You are essentially priming or exposing the information to your brain neurons for the first time. That is what priming is, alright? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, the second time that you go through that content should be in the lecture. When the lecturer is going through the content, let's say your teacher is pulling up a PowerPoint and explaining the concept, that is where your second type of learning or second section of learning should come. The third time where you learn the same content should be at home. When you go home, make sure that you're doing practice questions consistently. Maybe take up a past exam paper and run through that exam paper, right? That should be your third time where you're actually exposing your brain's neurons to the same information. This leads me on to tip number 2, which is about organization. Now, it can be a real hassle trying to organize a large amount of information, especially if you have a large bunch of notes, bunch of practice questions and past papers. It can be really difficult to do that, especially if you're in high school, let's say, and you have those really thick A4 binders. Let's say you've got them from like Target or Kmart. Those binders are actually not gonna help you much, because it's just gonna pile up and it's really difficult to scroll through all of that stuff in order to find a single piece of information. So what I would recommend instead is switching to a digital organization system. So I tend to use this app called Documents. It's a free app on the App Store, and what it does is it has these files that you can organize your folders, or basically it has these folders that can allow you to organize information in a very succinct manner. I'm pretty sure in this application you can also change the color of your folders and make it look very aesthetic and pretty, so that is something that definitely can motivate you to stay organized, stay on top of things, and make sure that you can find your documents and find your resources very easily. Another thing with organization is about scheduling your studying time, right? So for this, a lot of people tend to use Google Calendars, which is in itself, yes, a great option, but something that you can use if you are more of a hands-on girly like me, you like to use planners and agendas, is actually use a minimalistic agenda like this. So this is what I tend to use on a regular basis to make sure that I am on top of everything, especially university assignments. This is a really good way to stay on top of things. So it's a minimalistic planner slash agenda where it has a lot of pages, so it'll last you the whole year, let's say, and it's also magnetic at the back, so you can stick it on your fridge or on a whiteboard with a magnet, let's say, and you can look at it every day. Alright, tip number 3 is romanticizing studying and school. Now this can be very difficult to do, I'm not gonna lie, especially if you're in high school and let's say you have to wear a uniform every day. It can be difficult sort of channeling different energies in order to stay motivated and interested in what you're doing. But if you are in university, let's say, what I tend to do is I make sure that I'm dressing really well when I go to university. It's regardless of what I have on the day, I try to make sure that I put in effort into the way I present myself, and that in itself is such a huge energy boost. I'm not even joking. Like, when I think about it, the difference in energy that I feel when I put in effort into my appearance versus when I don't is tremendous. It's insane. So, if you're going to university, I would highly recommend making sure that you put on a cute fit. Go to a cute spot on the campus, maybe the library, maybe a cafe, and study there. I would also recommend channeling a different energy. So what I mean by that is, let's say, take your favorite character on TV. Mine is Rory Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. She is someone who studies frequently, but she studies in a manner that looks really fun and it looks really, enjoyable. She makes studying enjoyable, right? So I want you guys to channel that version of you. Channel this, version that it does enjoy studying and finds learning interesting, alright? And fake it till you make it. If you can't enjoy it in the process right now, I do believe faking it till you make it actually work. Another thing I would also do is try to act like I am a teacher or a professor. It is scientifically proven that teaching is one of the best ways to learn information. It is, in my opinion, honestly, it is the best technique I have used for studying. So an example I can give you guys is when I was doing my GCSEs, that is when I started my YouTube channel. And I started with GCSE biology explainer videos. So I would explain topics that I wasn't very good at that point in time. I would make sure that I understood the topic and I was really good at it before I came on and explained it to YouTube and you guys. So that is what I'm saying. When you channel a different person, a different energy, your entire motivation level does change to some extent. And also, if you are going to act like a teacher, you are essentially making sure that you know what you have in order to explain it to others. I also like looking at Pinterest and motivational quotes. Something that I came across very recently, which I think is a really, really good quote to keep in mind, is that studying is a privilege. There is a world of knowledge out there and we have the opportunity to explore some of it. I think quotes like this really do give you a different perspective on it, and try to make you think a little bit more positively, which is exactly what romanticizing the process is all about, right? So these tips I think will help you just enjoy studying a little bit better and make sure that you're consistent with that process. Speaking of consistency, tip number 4 is about discipline. Now, discipline builds through consistency. Doing small chunks of work over an extended period of time is so much better and so much more efficient than doing, let's say, 100 practice questions in a day. That is not going to get you very far, because think about it, right? When you do that many questions, how much are you really getting out of it? How much are you really taking out of that process? Versus when you do a single little bit of work every single day, it sort of has a ripple effect, right? It builds up, essentially. And I really saw this when I was doing A-levels, year 12. So what happened was I did this subject called HHD, which is essentially Health and Human Development, and in that I gained a 50 on 50 raw study score, which is basically the highest score you can get for any subject in year 12. And so for that, how I studied was I actually did 2 practice questions every single day. Only 2 practice questions, and a lot of people are still baffled when they ask me, how do you study? And I said, I did 1 practice question. But it actually does work, and especially if you are passionate about the subject and you enjoy doing it, you might have that urge to, oh my god, let's do 50 practice questions in one go. That'll make me feel really good. But it does make you feel good in the moment, but I don't think it is the best way to go about it, because you're just going to burn yourself out. It's going to stress you out really badly, and by the end of it, after those 50 questions, you will not have energy to even reflect on how you've gone for those 50 questions and how you've done, right? So chunking is a really good method to get you started, get that little bit of motivation. So once you do those 2 questions, you'll feel really good, and then you can progress on if you want to. Alright, tip number 5 is about goal setting. So I am a big believer in manifestation. So it is the idea that what you write down will essentially be etched more in your brain, and you will be more, self-conscious and self-aware of the fact, which will then motivate you to work towards what you're trying to achieve. Right? So I tend to believe that even for academic purposes, you can have a manifestation board or a vision board. So make sure that you are having, some sort of goal tracking system. So if it is a vision board, put pictures, maybe take pictures from Pinterest of the types of grades that you want. If you want a 90 plus or an A plus on your next exam, put that on the vision board that you already have for 2024, let's say. And make sure that this vision board is kept somewhere that you consistently look at. So it can be on a bookshelf, it can be, on your study table or your desk. Just make sure that you are constantly reminded of it, and you keep it in your vision and in your view. Another good way to goal track and goal set is writing things down. So when I did my GCSEs, the first thing that I did for my GCSEs was writing down a set of goals for what I wanted from this exam. So I would say, okay, I want an A star in these subjects. Be specific with what subject you want, what percentage you want. If your exam or curriculum is on a percentage scale, make sure that, let's say, okay, I want a 95% in biology, I want a 92% in chemistry, I want an 80% in, maths, let's say. So make sure that you're really, really specific. Make sure that your academic performance at this stage somewhat reflects your ability to attain that score. It shouldn't be that what you're doing right now is very far away from what you're trying to achieve. For instance, if you are getting 50s, let's say, try to make sure that your goal is realistic, right? Maybe keep it at a 60 or 70 max. Don't try to jump from 50 to 90, because that'll just be disappointing in the end. So be realistic, set specific goals to your circumstance, do specific subject-based goals, and make sure that you're keeping these goals in your eye view so you can look at them every day and be motivated. That is it for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did find this useful and find my tips to be interesting, do make sure to like, share and subscribe to Biolog. I did put a lot of effort into this video, so make sure that you guys let me know in the comment section down below if you liked it. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.